Another episode of the Dope Stroke podcast show resumes today on the 5th of January 2026. Joined as always by the boys themselves, Trotty and Bubs. Hope you boys are doing good. Hope you had a good holiday season. We are going to be talking a lot about scarves in this episode, I believe, because Trotty loves a scarf, as well as the variety of golf news that has broken out over the past 2-3 weeks. Other than that, as an intro, how are you boys doing? Good time? Good holidays? Bubs, what did you get up to?
Happy New Year, boys. I'm still convinced that we need to hit the record button as soon as we jump on because people are missing the best bits. We've just been talking about household repairs, scarves, holidays. That's the goal of the podcast right there. We need to start recording earlier.
But it's all it needs to be like R18. You know?
It's just the language that Trotter uses that we wouldn't be able to use it on any platform. That's the problem. But no, I'm good, boys. I was just saying to you guys are off camera. I had a good break. I was meant to do a little bit of work last week. I did the odd hour, but I took a bit more time off than I planned to. So I really had a good 2 weeks off with the boys. We did loads of stuff. Nice. So yeah, it was good. It was good to switch off from work, and I'm back at it today, trying to get my head in game. But mate, it was good. Yeah, Christmas was always good in our house.
That's good. With the twin boys as well. I'm pretty sure that was a boisterous household come Christmas Day morning.
You know what? It's just this time of year, when you've got boys, I mean, Trotty will know because obviously he's got twins, but when you've got boys and you've got a boy dazzler, I've got twin boys who are 7, they've got so much energy and they're off for 2 weeks and they just want to go run around, and it's cold, it's wet, it's wintry. It's so hard to keep them entertained for 2 weeks. If you leave them in the house, something's getting broken, either a vase or a face or an arm or a leg. So then you try and go out and they're getting muddy and dirty. It's not a break from work. It's great to spend time with them, but it's brutal trying to keep them occupied for 2 weeks.
Almost nice to get back to work, isn't
it? 100%, mate, 100%. Well, exactly. They're at school today. They've got an inset day. So they've had 2 weeks off and then they should have been back today. But, oh no, teachers need to do something. So yeah, last day at home today, back to school tomorrow.
What about you, Trotmeister General, other than your dilapidated home and your scarf-wearing, fiasco? What's up? What's going on?
I mean, I'm just wondering what's happened to you over the Christmas break. Have you bringing out an album? You got a residency somewhere? I mean, I'm
doing a gig with Liam. Me, Liam, and Noel. We're on it.
Anyone who's looking at this, I mean, what are you wearing?
Mate, it's Baltic outside, -9. It's not like Southern California and it's summer all year round. This is like real world every year, big boy.
I think.
Now, look, I had a good one. Other than looking at what you full swing sales, not can't turn the heating on.
Yeah, it's the heat on.
How'd your cuts, lad? We're running out of oil. We need some Venezuelan oil. Oh, let's not go there. Anyway, Troy, tell us what's been going on.
No, it was good. We had a lot of intentions to do a lot of things and we ended up staying around, which was fine. It was good for various reasons, which are all good. But we stayed in town and I agree with you totally. It is chaos with the nippers. My guys are 11 now, nearly 12, and it's just tough. They go to school. They're getting ready to go to school now, which is perfect. So I can't wait to ship them off.
Trotty, have you come to terms with the fact that your Christmases are 18, 19, 20 degrees, sunny, warm, shorts? Christmases should be cold, right? Winter, sun.
Nah.
Are you okay with it?
I've had a few of them away from home now, so I'm totally cool with it. I've done it in the desert in Dubai. I've done it in Hong Kong, I would imagine. I've done it here a lot, so no, I'm cool. I get it. Totally comfortable with it.
Do you know? I have to say, I grew up in South Africa, where it's bolstering middle of summer, Christmas time every year. So in the UK, when it gets to summertime here and it gets that real heat wave moment, and you got all the windows open and everything, to me, I suddenly feel really festive, for no real reason. And I'm thinking, we should get the Christmas tree. Let's get some tinsel out, Meanwhile, it's July in the UK, but you do get used to it. There's no question. And having a barbecue on Christmas Day, or, when you're a kid and you get a brand new bike for Christmas or whatever, and you can actually go out and ride it, I quite like the fact that Christmas can happen in summer.
Let's cover that topic quickly and get this introduction actually rolling properly. I mean, that is a classic Christmas present, a bike. If you think about the all-time...
Mega.
Yeah,
mega.
All-time Christmas presents, a bike is a classic.
Yeah.
I can remember getting it on the golf theme. I can remember getting a set of half a set of made-up clubs, meaning like Northwesterns they were. I don't know if you remember them back in like the 80s or 90s, probably. It must have been early 90s. Northwesterns. And like maybe a Jesse Valentine 3IM was in there, which the head came off pretty quickly. And then I had a Wilson bag, junior bag, with Nick Faldo's signature down the side of it. Legendary. And I think that was the introduction to golf. That was definitely a Christmas present one of the years. And then I would put the ball around. We had like this staircase, and I'd put the ball around it. And I remember I got it through one of the slats once, and it would drop down into like the lower, like where you lived, the living room hall, I guess, the walkway into the house. And there was a table down there, and it hit the table. And I didn't tell my mum. I just covered the dimples in the table with like a freaking mat. Yeah, doily type effort. A freaking a coaster is what I covered it with.
I remember one Christmas I got I'm trying to think when this would have been now. This had been like mid-90s maybe. And it was a TaylorMade TI Bubble 2 driver. And I'd wanted this thing for ages. And I got it
late 90s, eh?
Yeah, it was late 90s. It wasn't a surprise. I knew I was getting it, but parents were like, you're not having it until Christmas. And then I remember playing like just after Christmas. I remember so excited to get this thing on the golf course. And it was like it is out here today. It's like it was frosty. And I remember the course was like open, but there's frost everywhere. I remember being so cold. I remember taking the head cover off and putting it on like a mitten because I had no mittens. So I'm wearing the head cover on my right hand. I've got my glove on my left hand. And I got this driver's bag. And I was like happy as I could have been down this fairway with like frost everywhere and this new driver in the bag. Great times.
The gifts you get, right? I remember I must have been not long started golf, so I was probably like 14 or 15. And growing up in South Africa, a little different. And for Christmas one year, this was around about the time when Callaway drivers were massive and you had the Big Bertha had come out and then biggest Big Bertha and Great Big, all those sort of early edition models. And my dad got me a Chinese knockoff, which was known as a Big Brother. Yes, please. Let's get that one down there. Solid 180 down the fairway.
I had one of them, though, called a Canterbury. So, yeah. So it was in the same font, yeah, Canterbury. And it's just funny, you look back, I was literally just going to take it there. So I remember like I then had a Zing 2 copy. Remember Ping made the Zing, they had the Ping i2 wooden, then they made the Zing 2. I had a Zing 2 copy. That was actually pretty good. I had a Ping i2 one iron copy called Tour Aim or Tour Aid or something, or Tour Eyes or something. Again, that was pretty solid. So I had a bunch of copy stuff as I was growing, although I never really grew, but growing through different levels. And then I remember like getting into, to your point, Great Big Bertha was the first real. I played with a guy who had a Great Big Bertha. There were two kids I played with, they were really good. And then they had one, and I played with one of them, and I was like, wow, that's legit. Then eventually I got into Hoylake after being at all like the not as well-known golf courses. And it was on TaylorMade just before we all started at the Belfry, or maybe 3 years before. And yeah, but I had 300, 320, 340, or was it 320, 360? It was 300, 320, 340, 360. I don't know. The middle one, anyway.
310, I thought.
The middle one was really spinny. And I got the middle one. I'd been to Titleist, and Titleist had fit me for a 7.5 driver with a Pro Light in it. And I couldn't hit really bad fitting. So again, you go on the fitting and you hit the thing on the launch monitor down in, where are they at? They're in Oxford, aren't they, somewhere? It was in the UK. Yeah, it was in the UK. Leatherhead. So I went there. I'm hitting this thing, and it must have been slightly into wind. It was a cold day.
St. Ives it is.
St. Ives. It was a 7.5, and he moved me from an 8.5 to a 7.5. I stood there thinking, 7.5, Jesus, I was a decent player. I'm like, wow, I've got to button that. Obviously, dropped the spin, gained the yardage. Couldn't hit it for shit on the golf course. Played it for like a year and a bit. Terrible. Then I ended up getting, put me off Titleist drivers for a long time. Then I ended up getting this TaylorMade, right? Again, not really, there's three heads. Didn't really know what I was doing. And don't even know. I ended up with the middle one, which I think was 320, but we'd have to chat GPT or Google that, whatever. And Hoylake, 9th hole, into breeze. You've got this ridge in the fairway. And that was always like the marker. If you could bang it over the ridge, it was a good ball. So I hit this thing, minted it out the middle, and it hit every single freaking flap on the way up. This thing must have apexed at about 190 feet, and it probably had about 8,000 spin on it, and it just about made the fairway. And I was like, wow, that's an interesting one. Weird. So I played the next few holes, hitting this driver, 210 yards carry, no worries. And then I turned down Breeze, hit it with this 8,000 spin and hit this thing like 400 yards. And I was like, oh, maybe this thing's okay. No idea about equipment and what was going on. Didn't play it actually for very long. I had to get rid of it. But I was like, oh, that was the start of shocking. And then I'm trying to think, I must have then got into a driver that got me close to Belfry days, but I don't remember what I turned up with. But yeah, it was just showing you the importance of fitting, right? If we're being serious. And back when I knew nothing and the fitter knew nothing, and even in our early Belfry days, we didn't know anything when we started fitting. And we did okay, but I fit the majority of people in for the same driver. That was the thing I noticed, which was a slightly closed 10.5 head with a soft golf shaft, and off you went. And most people got fit into that.
Interesting. Well, those drivers, those 300.
Is it interesting? Is it interesting?
Well, I'm talking about the 300 bits. So 300, 320, and 360. Because the rest of your story was rubbish. But the series, that's what's actually relevant there and interesting.
Interesting.
They did a tour version, didn't they? The 300. They did like I remember I seen one at one of the Benson Hedges or something. It was like a deeper head. It was like 300 tour.
That was the 500. You're getting mixed up with the 500s and the 300. That was the 500 tour. Harrington played it for about 20 minutes, and I played it in Ireland for about 15 minutes. Really hard to hit.
Low spin, right? The deep face. There was an R9.
The 500. The 500 was like, yeah, but the 500 was really compact, really small. It just looked cool. Difficult to use. Looked cool though.
So.
There was a lot of things in the early 2000s that looked cool, so you'd use them, and they were not that good. That was kind of where golf clubs went. There was a lot of stuff. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that looked cool.
Not that good.
Not that good.
I'm still there. I'm gaming stuff that looks cool rather than performs well, so I'm still there. So sticking on that topic, I don't know.
I play golf. I play on the topic of clubs. I played golf over the Christmas break. I've played in some nice golf, boys. I really am. I'm well happy with my games. That, to be fair, and wind got up, and it was cold, and it was snow. It was rain. Now this is all in perspective, considering Daryl's sat there dressed like a freaking Yeti. I was wearing a golf top, didn't put a jacket on or jumper, sweater for the Americans. It was hot. It was club and a half wind, maybe, so nothing from what we're used to. And there was a tiny bit of rain, like no worries. So playing this par 3, 210 back edge. I hit my 7 wood about 235 to 250, depending on the shot shape. Into breeze, water at the front. I just said, I'm going to bang this on the back edge. 7 wood, little 7 wood, knuckled it out there. Pitch is 212, rests in its pitch mark. Geezer next to me, just before I've hit, has been slating me. A bit of abuse for pulling out 7 wood on this par 3. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm doing really well. Like we ended up winning, me and this partner of mine, but this was the opponent. And I'm like, I'm got a good scorecard here. The only way I can make bogey here, Scott Fawcett decade, is if I bang it in the water, basically. So I'm just going to whack it on the back edge, 2 stab. Abuse. It's a typical McD move. This is abuse. You're this, you're that, you're hitting this, you're wet, blah, 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 whatever. Cool. Yep, no worries. He gets up in his waterproofs, 5 wood. I was like, what are you doing? And he goes, to be fair, it looks like you know what you're doing. I was like, oh, fair enough. Not bad.
Where did he hit it?
Brilliant.
Sorry, Bubsy, I cut you off there. Go for it. He hit it right side, and I actually...
You should have said in the water for the story.
Yeah, I should have done.
No, you were just talking about equipment and obviously TaylorMade equipment. I just thought it was a pretty good segue into Rory. He's been testing. I say testing. I mean, he played them at the TGL, so I don't know whether he would have played them had that been a regular PGA Tour event or something. Whether it being the TGL gave him a bit of an opportunity to put him in play. But I didn't realise that. Don't know how long that has been happening. Whether he's been testing that for months. But I saw an article. I actually saw he was on the Overlap podcast fairly recently, and he's playing some. Is it CBs? No, MCs.
Yeah, CBs.
And he's got 9.
The cavity back place.
Yeah. So do you know
he's
much
got
about
9
that,
to 3 iron?
What will he be?
Do you know what?
I don't.
I saw him at the I saw him at the photo shoot, and he wasn't in those clubs.
That was
So
November.
he was in the Blades. So it kind of I haven't seen him. Yeah, and I haven't seen him since the photo shoot. So I'm kind of getting all the information you're getting. So yeah, I haven't seen him. But I mean, spec wise, I would imagine he's been in those iron shafts forever. So I imagine that it's the same iron shafts that he's always played, and now he's just gone and banged them into a CB. I imagine it's to get a little bit easier, more forgiving. Those blades he's got really don't go very far. I know he said he was excited about it, and I'm going to say this. The skeptic in me, I'll be really surprised to see, and I don't want this to be a little soundbite, whoever cuts the sound bites up, because this could probably get me in trouble. I'm really interested to see if he's still in these clubs by Augusta. And I'll be really let's say Pebble Beach. Say he plays Pebble. And the reason being is because I wonder if it's just a play to mess around a bit in the off season and maybe sell a few units for a golf company, maybe. That's the bit of the skeptic in me of having seen how this stuff works. It's the right time to test a bunch of weird stuff that maybe isn't what you're going to play.
Okay, so
I
here's the
think
question.
that.
Go on, mate.
Oh, I was just going to say, for someone like him, he probably doesn't really need the forgiveness per se, because he's going to really want to see the movement of the ball flight, both right to left and left to right. So I can't see why he, in the long-term interests of the season, that he would move to cavity back for forgiveness. And unless there's something obvious I'm missing out on.
Yeah, I think it's spin rate, because he went to the TP5 ball, which is more spinny, and then he's gone, he uses a very spinny iron, and now he's got a CB. So my take would be spin rate.
So obviously you've not worked
and there is, again, I don't know how much I can say, but in that conversation, there's new product coming out in a key piece of equipment that we all use to play golf. So if that is different, then that requires a different iron, doesn't it?
So I know you've not obviously worked with him on these irons, so you don't know exactly what he's trying to do. But if we look at a kind of general rule, you'd expect those irons to launch a little higher, apex a little higher. Do you think he will have wanted that, or do you think there will be amending and fitting those irons to give him the launch and apex that he would have had with his old ones? And he's looking for.
I think I answered it in the sentence before. I don't think they launch higher. Apex will be similar than the others, but it's how it gets there. So a blade gets there with a low launch, high spin. That iron gets there with a higher launch but lower spin. And, let's just get into it now, because we've already hit this. You think about the golf ball. I think the golf ball is going to look a little different in 2026. So there'll be, if this is a legitimate change, which it probably is more so than my first thought that I said about 2 minutes ago, then it's to combat changes in a golf ball. Would be my actual thinking. Let's see if under tournament-ish conditions, we can change how the golf ball performs just by switching irons. That's what I'm thinking. So he's trying to capture what he had before. Why wouldn't you? You've won everything with them. But just get the benefits of whatever this new ball does for him.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Well, let's see what comes. Obviously, coming out to Dubai in the next. I fly out to Dubai on Sunday, and this is the season where all the clubs in the players' bag start to change. Obviously, different players move into different contracts, different brands, etc. So I'm expecting to see quite a few different changes to the players' bags anyway over the next couple of weeks or so. Any insights on some of that product that you're allowed to talk about, Trotmeister?
So I think, look, let's just get into this properly for a minute here. So bottom line is, I think whenever players of this level, and here's the first, I know we've got a kind of a set topic that we wanted to hit to, so now we can probably segue into that. So I think the first thing to cover on this is if you're going to change equipment and you're at that level, you only change if, and Bubsy asked a great question there, but he's trying to maintain what he's got. He's not trying to, he wants the little benefits that they give him. But a CB versus an MB, it's a little easier to use, but you're talking mishits. So there might be, let's say that this change is a legitimate change. And let's say that he's looking at this properly. I think the golf ball's going to have a huge element of this. There could be a story in that. The next thing is going to be, yeah, he wants same launch if he can get it, and same peak height and same descent angle, but it'll have something to do with off-center strikes, and there'll be a stat that he's seen that he's missing something on a slight off-center hit that is giving him a problem. So then I would imagine they've suggested potentially play a combo set, and he's gone, don't think a fancy combo set. He's using the 764 iron anyway. So it's like, well, 4 iron performs good. So CB goes in there. That's like for like. Bit harder to hit. No worries for him. And then he's played them through the set. So he's got some, consistency through the set. I think the big thing is the drivers have gone in really easily this year for TaylorMade. Even if you look at someone like Scotty Scheffler, and this is a huge takeaway for anyone out there looking at 2026 goals, because I know we wanted to hit that in the podcast. Certainly when it comes to equipment, it just doesn't change much. Just doesn't like to change, doesn't want to change. And I think when it comes to equipment, if you can make your changes in 2026 based on statistics, I think that's massive. I know we take the piss a bit off screen and like I'm big on the data and blah, 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 but 100%, and I know Bubsy, to be fair, lives his job like this as well. If the data doesn't say that you make a change and it doesn't work, then it wasn't the right change. It's as simple as that. And, I've found it with various putters. I've changed them very easily. I think that irons, I'm sometimes slow to change, certainly, but you're changing such a huge part of the bag. It has to have reason to it. Like Jason Day made a famous change this year, and the tech, albeit the iron that he's changed to, I'm not sure if it works. Haven't found that out yet, but I understand why he's changing it. It's to make your worst shots slightly better, because your good shots are always going to be good. So you're dealing with top players, and that is ultimately going to be the reasoning behind why Rory's done what he's done. And I think it's coupled up with a golf ball change, to be honest. Now, as for Dubai, in a two-part question in the Middle East, yeah, that is, you've got Palm Springs out here, which is perfect place to test golf clubs because it's in a natural dome, and there's no wind. It's at sea level. And then you've got Dubai, which is as close as you can get to it. Only issue being it's slightly firm fairway conditions, so you want slightly lower spin, slightly lower apex, so you can get that thing running. So it's not quite as ideal, but the weather's good for the Euros that have come out of the freezer that is continental Europe to go and hit balls. So yes, golf companies do a lot of work out in the Middle East, which is where you see some changes. European Tour players, historically quite easy to change. PJ Tour, top level, slightly tougher because they live by the rules that I kicked off that speech with, which is don't make changes unless you know statistically they're required.
I think the only equipment change I plan on making this year is my belt size, as I seem to be getting ever fatter after the holiday season. But outside of that, I'm kind of hoping that might give me a little bit more shift to generate more club head speed, so I can pop it out there 210.
I'm gonna dive in here. For someone who worked on trucks for like what, 4 seasons, 5 seasons, 3 seasons? How long did you?
I think I was there for, I don't know, 7, 8 years. I don't know. 7.
I think your equipment is the worst setup equipment I've ever seen for anyone. I think it was. I think it was prior to you doing it, and it was prior, during, and post. It's horrendous. Whenever I touch
it's quite neutral now.
Whenever I touch your golf clubs, I'm like, these are the worst clubs I've ever picked up.
All right, well, fit me then. How about that? Fit me free of charge, and we got a deal.
I would say you everything's really freaking heavy and just really sledgehammery. I'm like, I don't get this. It's just rubbish.
It's because I'm so masculine.
Not how you play golf.
I tell you, I'd love to be able to hit the ball like Bubs, though. The distance that you generate, mate, is just... I always go back to that 15th hole of Belfry. I'll never forget that day. That was the day I was like, fuck, what am I doing here? Like, why am I even on the green grass of the fairways of the Belfry?
Yeah.
It just made me look like a child. That's what it made me. And I still feel like that now playing golf with you.
Would you get driver down to that water hazard and then 8 iron on or something?
Yeah.
8 iron over the back. That was what he did that day. And I went driver, like probably 3-wood, and then an 8 iron into the green and probably finished short, chipped up, 2-putted for a bogey. That's probably what I would have done.
Yeah,
but for some context here, though, he has got like tour level speed, or certainly did have high end tour level speed. So if he struck one high out the toe, drawery down that hill, I get it. Then he's hit the second shot, drawery, I get it. It makes sense. If you stood there with that Alvaro Quiros back in the day, that's what he would do. John Daly would do that. So you're talking about like velocity. So a normal human is about 15 mile an hour slower than Bubsy. A normal human. And I would put me in the normal.
There's a
I'd put me in the normal category.
To hit it down by the water and have 8 on into a par 5 and still miss the green. There's a message there around.
Yeah, but that's
taking you 4 to get down.
Well, probably,
that's why you do what you do, though. So and then, in all fairness, though, we haven't got to the punchline yet. Like Daryl, you're not long, lad. You got no speed.
I'm not going to hide away from that. But then also, I actually look at your game, Trotty, and I go, God, you do hit it quite a long way. Like considering your height and everything. I mean, you have a good looking golf swing and everything like that, so it probably helps. But like you actually generate, I think, a lot of speed.
No, I do. But with what I wanted to do, I had to. And that's why I swing it the way I swing it. And you never figured that out. That's all. That's all I was saying. Not knocking you for it. You just never hit it.
I've never been able to figure it out. You're right. I've never been able to figure it out at all. But then
you did it one shot. I've seen you hit one shot. When you listen to me once in your life, and you hit the best shot I've ever seen you hit. Do you remember it?
No, where was that?
Let me tell you this story, Bubsy. So we were in Scotland, right? And we went over to Turnberry, and we were going to play. We went and played, didn't we? One night at the Open was at Troon, and we went and played, and we got on Trump Turnberry. I think this was the time, and the weather was horrendous, and like we carried on. It was just amazing. The golf course was so good that we carried on. Anyway, we're under the cover, and Daryl's hitting balls, and he's not hitting it good, and he never listens to me. So I'm like, all the years I've battered him at chipping comps and everything, just never listens. Like whatever, mate, you can't.
Why, Oh, why?
That's why he was celebrating so much 6 months ago about when he took money off me here, because he was so far in debt.
You mean when I wiped the floor with you? Is that what you mean?
This won't happen again. Let's keep on the subject. So he stands in this little bay, and he goes next to like the brick wall segment where like it separates the bays from the range. And he's fanning around with this driver. And I look at this driver, and it was an old one. It's like an R7 quad or something. He's got like a 14 in the front, all this weird shit. So I go into my golf bag. I get out some normal weights, set it up normal for him, get it off the horrendous lie angle it had, give it him back. And then I basically give him this quick golf lesson about how to hit it hard. And he hits one, and the sound it's actually hit. I wouldn't say it's come out like a freaking gun, but it's gone like a little, the matches when you put them on the side of the packet and you rub the match down the packet. It's made at least that sound. So there's a little bit of an explosion. So I've looked at him, and he's looked at me like that emoji with the face that goes. And I'm like, yeah, mate, like that's what you got to do. And then he never got it again. He did me one emoji, and then he never had it again. And I was like, yeah, that's it.
I think I cooked it for the rest of the round.
Are you saying that he struck it like a tour pro on that shot, or was the relevance in the story of you telling us that he went to the bay with the wall? Was it just the echo of the wall that did it?
It was totally the echo of the wall, and that's why he sounded like a box of Swan matches when it went off.
But I think someone like Daz is going to be pretty representative of a lot of golfers out there who are just like itching to hit it further. And there's I think from a coach's point, you can get some big jump ups in speed with some technique change, but then I won't say the majority of it, but a lot of it comes from just training. As in, I don't mean training like gym, but just speed training. There's a lot of speed sticks out there, some good systems out there. A lot of people will come to me and kind of like, I want to jump up in speed straight away. You can get it, but I think for you, if you said you want to pick up 12, 30 mile an hour, you'd probably be looking at 4 to 5 of that with a technique change. And then the rest of it is just like training, just like having some speed sessions, saving 20 balls at the end to just go at it and see what you got and just kind of push your body. Bryson talks about it a lot, about just getting your body used to going at that speed, because most golfers have got more speed in them, but they've never had that kind of ability to almost kind of let go and actually let it happen. You look at adrenaline, last hole of a tournament, how often do you see adrenaline cause more distance? So we know that most golfers have got the potential to do it. It's just doing the right things. But yeah, you could definitely get some jump ups with some technique change, as obviously Trotty's alluded to there.
Don't you think technique wise it comes from hip turn and then that releases a bit more shoulder turn?
I think it's individual. I mean, I think it depends on the golfer. I would say, in my experience, if you look at the average golfer, sort of like mid to high teens, I think a lot of the lack of speed. To say what the way I think of it, it's a bit of a different way of thinking about it, is if I get Joe Bloggs walks up to me with a driver, right? He has
Darrell
got
Evans.
Potential, yeah, Darrell Evans. They have got a potential distance they can hit it. Now, we don't know what that is, but let's call it 300 just for argument's sake. And then what they do is they chip away at that potential distance until they're left with the distance they do hit it. So, for example, let's say the golfer turns up and they've got the wrong driver. So the spec's wrong. Well, suddenly they can't hit it 300 now. Their max is 290. Then they take a grip and it's a little bit too much through the palm. It's like, well, now your best is 280. Then maybe they don't really load the wrist correctly. And it's like, well, now your best is 270. Then they work the path a little bit out to in the face, a bit open. Well, that's costing you 12 yards. So they're chipping away at this distance. And I think the majority of golfers could pick up distance. So I'm talking like the average golfer, just by looking at how they place their grip in their hands, just looking at how they're loading the wrist, looking at how they're releasing the club, just the hands and the arms create a huge amount of speed. And then once you max that out, then you start to go through, hip turn, how you put pressure into the ground, how you use that pressure that comes back. I did a lesson down at Darrell's place before Christmas. And this is a genuine lesson. We got him to hit driver a bit straighter. And then he said to me, I want some more distance. And he just looked like he wasn't hitting it that hard. He just looked like he was just like cruising with the driver. So we did a couple of little exercises. I got him to sort of feel like he was pushing into the ground in different places and pushing back from the ground. And then the very next shot he hit was 42 yards longer. The very next shot he hit. Just because we gave him some feels. And very often what I find is when you give someone some feels or you tap into some movements, the first time they do it is often the best result because they've got no preconceived ideas about what's going to feel like, what's going to happen, and they just do it. And then after that, the brain gets involved and sometimes you get a bit of a drop in performance. But yeah, so there was definitely a big jump up there through how he used the ground. But I think for the majority of golfers, just checking basics like, just get your grip good, load your wrist correctly, check your path's not 10 out to win, which is a glancing blow, and you can pick up some distance that way.
I'm playing a lot more club golf now, or at least with people who are amateurs and stuff. And, to your point, you hit it and you hit it pretty decent one. Like, wow, you hit it far. And, give it a dig if needed. So, well, can you help me out with it? And, you help people where you can. So recently I gave this guy a few pointers. We're on one of the tighter holes on the golf course. So I'm thinking, not ideal place to ask me here, but this is what I would do. And he's like, right. He does it. And literally, as he's halfway down his downswing, he's like, I can't do that. And he hit this thing straight in the shit. And I'm like, what? Why are you asking me here? Point number one. Point number two is, you didn't do what I said anyway. And point number three is, it's gone nowhere. And then he just starts to chirp out. He starts then to give me like 5 sentences about how he's not going to do what he's just asked me. Like, okay, mate. Unless you want to do it, I can't help you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the hardest place to make a swing change is the golf course. And then if you double down and go, it's a tight hole, I mean, it's just like, that's almost the worst environment to try and do something with your golf swing, isn't it?
Yeah. So, brutal.
Well,
so let's get on with these 2026 goals then, McD.
Yeah, well, it's almost, I wouldn't call them like New Year's resolutions or anything like that, but I think it would be quite good to figure out, have you got an objective that you want to try and achieve with your game this year? Is there something that, you really want to strive for and push for and achieve over the course of the next 12 months to basically be better at golf? And what you think that the public should really recognize in terms of their own game? I'm obviously looking at my own game and thinking I don't really play very often. So really the first resolution that I should be aiming for is to basically play more golf. Now, granted, I'm super lucky that I've got this really cool office, which has full swing simulators in, so I can play as much golf as I want indoors. And I definitely want to do a lot more of that and actually practice a lot more. I'm a very time poor person, so it's really hard to be able to do that. But I definitely want to play more golf this year. Distance, yes, would I love distance? Abso-freaking-lutely. But I also feel like what I need to get better at, because my temper is not exactly the longest. It's a particularly short temper. So I'd rather just know that's my limitation and just play with my own limitations. That's probably what I prefer to do.
So a couple of things to unpack here before we get going. First off, and it's a two-part question, don't answer this yet. Do you believe in New Year's resolutions? And then the second part is, what's the barometer on all this before we kick off? How are we measuring success? And is it the golf gin thing, or like, are we actually getting into some real stats and real data? How are we going to measure this?
Well, I think that it's each their own, right? Everyone is going to approach it differently. And for me, do I believe in New Year's resolutions? Not wholeheartedly, because I think you should just live the way that you live, and you just chip away and make improvements steadily over time. And my steadily over time improvement this year would be to actually get back to playing a little bit more golf, which in turn is likely to get me a little bit more data driven, a little bit more aware of, handicap purposes and some of the stats that I might be generating over time. And then eventually you start to get into the right habits. So what I'd like to do, if you were to call it a New Year's resolution, is just to chip away at getting a little bit more re-engaged into the game in terms of my own game, more than I have done over the last several years while I've been establishing all the business interests I've got.
So,
fair, right?
and yeah, no, hang on. So,
he's trying to dig a hole for me now. I know.
We and me will play golf this year between 2 and 8 times. That a fair number?
I think 8 would be a high level of golf, but yeah.
You never know. If we ever somehow land a golf trip, it'll be between 2 and 8 times. Then that for you will be your major. 100%. That's the way you are, right?
Yeah.
So
anytime I beat you, it's like winning Olympic gold.
I get you. So I turn up last year whenever we played. I didn't play well. Didn't play well with either of you two on the occasions that we played last year. But when we stood on the first tee and we're trying to figure out the game, and I say to you, what's your handicap? And you go, I'm not doing that again. I'm not doing that. No. I'm not doing it. If you don't put a score in between February 2000 and flipping 18 and now, that ain't a handicap.
I don't know what you want me to tell you. My handicap is my handicap.
So, Bubsy, this guy, apparently a former professional golfer, PGA pro, and he claimed, I think he wanted 15 shots. He's like, I'm a 15. I'm a 15.
He's smoking crack there.
He said I'm a 15.
Honestly.
That's what he said.
I said 6. I said 6. 15.
16. He wanted 16.
16.
Hang on.
SIX.
Let's ask an important question. What handicap did you turn pro off?
12.
I turned 12. Yeah, 12. I turned pro off 12. I turned pro
4.4 he would have been, the highest he was allowed to be.
No, I think I turned pro of 3 in the end, like 3 point whatever.
Mate, you've never been a 3 in your life.
Because I had to wait a whole year. That's why.
So 5 or 6 is fair though. That's since you've basically hung your clubs.
If he was taking 5 or 6, then that's totally fair. He's not taking 5 or 6. Honestly, it's more of a 12 or 15 is what he says he is.
Mate, you are miles off the mark. Basically, what happened here, for all the people listening, I just beat Trotty off scratch this year and he's moody about it.
Yeah.
Don't make your problems my problems, mate.
And then he turns up.
Kick your ass.
What's the worst is he gets there still using that stupid putter that's not flat enough for him. Right. Not flat enough for him. And he stands with his hands really low and he nips one in. He goes, that's a 6. Yeah. Net 5. Absolute chopper.
Imagine how well you'd have beat him if your clubs were well fit for you. I mean, you've got
that's right, mate. I mean, it'd be like playing seals out there, wouldn't it?
And beat them.
So anyway, the point is, I want to confirm now. What are you going to claim your handicap is for the season?
Or whatever it says on the app when I see you next. It'll probably be 5 or 6.
Bullshit.
It's fair, mate. That's what I play. I don't play much golf. Do you know what? I reckon 80% of the rounds of golf I played last year were with you, and I kept beating you. Like, what does that tell you?
Because I have a legitimate golfing gin number. No, it's not. It's not.
Okay, so if it's not, so hang on a second. So if my handicap at the time when I play is 6 and I'm beating you, what handicap should I be off?
What's your low handicap index? I bet you don't even know that.
I don't know that. No,
Exactly.
I just play golf, mate. I just pick up a club, find a ball, off I go.
But this is why the game is pointless then, playing with you, because you don't know what your handicap is. Like 50% of the people listening to this.
My handicap is like 5.8 or something in the app. I don't know what it is, but something like that.
Move on.
I can't help beating you. I'm sorry. Look, I know it's a sore topic for you.
First
I
time
actually
in
want to
his
tell a
career.
little story about Trotty here. Back in the day, we used to play this thing called the Curry Classic. Recall this, Trotmeister General? Yeah.
Yeah, I lost
There's
once.
Yeah, we played 3 times, and after the 3rd time, that was it. We're never playing again. So it was me and another guy versus Trotty and another guy. And the point of the game, so it called it the Curry Classic because the losers would always have to buy the winners a curry. That's why it was called the Curry Classic, right? So the first 2 times we played, me and my partner, we lost both times. We ended up then having to buy the curry for Trotty and his partner. The 3rd time we beat him, Trotty was so moody that he refused to eat a curry himself. So he sat at the table and watched us eat a curry, which forced me then to go, we'll have a dessert as well then. Just to try and rub salt into his wounds. And he was so moody and bitter about it, and it wasn't an enjoyable meal. And at that dinner, I just said, that's it. I'm never playing golf with you again. You just said it. I'm not doing this. And that was the last Curry Classic in 2004 or something.
How would you ever have got on, Chotty, if you'd have made it and you'd have won the Masters, and then the next year you had to put the jacket on somewhere? You're like, I'm not putting the jacket on him. I'm not putting it on.
Yeah.
Put it on yourself.
I would have said
On the
that.
floor in front of him.
There's nothing wrong.
There was a time though where you were just the worst winner and the worst loser at the same time.
There's
You were
nothing
just
wrong with being
impossible to be
competitive.
around. Competitive is good, but a wanker, Jesus, that's what you would be. Honestly, absolute nightmare of a human playing golf with you. Which is why you are bang on right that when I beat you now, it is filled with an incredible amount of satisfaction.
It's your major.
It is my major beating. I love it. I love beating.
Well,
It's great.
you'd be pleased to know I've been away and worked really hard since we all last played golf
Is that because
together.
I motivated you? 'Cause
Maybe.
I was beating
So
you.
it won't happen for a long time unless you cheat, which is obviously the subject. So your goal for this year is not to cheat. Like you got to have an actual legitimate gin thing.
Mate, I don't cheat. I just take advantage of my circumstances. But that then makes me think: what's your resolution then, Troy? If is your major and your goal to finally beat me this year, or where are you at?
I don't have any like performance. I have data. I'm living off of data now. I know where I want to get to in my data, but I don't really have because you can't control winning, can you? Like not beating you, that's easy. Proper tournaments, you can't control winning. So it's like if you perform and improve your sections of your So I have, and I wanted to ask Bubsy about this, I have a consistent 2-way miss on percentages, and I want to get that down to one side off the fairway being a higher percentage miss than the other side. I want to reduce both, obviously, but I want to just get the miss to be more predictable off the tee. That's the goal for off the tee.
But that's easy. You could do that today.
I know. Low-lying fruit, son. I know.
I mean, you think this is. Let's say, this is. Well, let's dive into this because this is.
So, for example, mate. I've got a second part question then. So, tight golf courses. I genuinely don't. I think because where I grew up was not that. It was rough. So in America, it's canyons, it's water hazards, it's trees, it's different. So links course is like rough, open. You hit it, you blast it in the rough, you try and find it, and then you hack out the rough or in a trap. So I don't drive it as well when visually the golf course is tight. So that's the second part of this. Now you can answer and give me some wisdom here.
So if you went on the driving range, pull driver out, picked a target,
I hit it good on the range.
100 shots, and then you look to that aerial view. Some of those shots are going to be left of the intended target, and some of those are going to be right of the intended target. Right, that's not abnormal. That is just how it is. So if you then go on a hole, and your dispersion is, let's say, 60 yards wide, and the fairway is 40 yards wide, and you aim in the middle of the fairway, some of the drives will miss left, some of the drives will miss right. They're not bad swings. They're just swings that you make on a drive.
I'm on the same page here, by the way. I've been reading all this on the decade stuff.
So let's say, you wouldn't. Let's say, argument's sake, you play that hole over and over and over and over again. And you look at your stats and you go, well, I've got a two-way miss. Some are missing left, some are missing right. What do I do? You just change your aim.
Yeah.
Just
aim it down the right and try and draw it.
Yeah. You either go, well, I need to make my dispersion smaller, but that's more of a technical thing, so you're not going to go down that route. But if you shift your aim to be like, say, 15 yards right to centre, the shots that go left are in the fairway, that's not a left miss, and the shots that go right are in the rough. So you've got a one-way miss. So you're not changing.
So I've done that.
You're not changing dispersion.
I've done that.
Target, and you've gone from a two-way miss to a one-way miss. It's simple.
I've done that, but the miss percentages are still similar. Is that because I haven't given it a long enough time yet?
Well, yeah, it can't be. There's always whatever hole you stand on. There might be the odd hole, but whatever hole you stand on, it's likely that missing on one side is going to be slightly more beneficial than missing on the other side. And actually, if you look at this, just a few years ago now on Live Golf, I don't watch a lot of Live Golf. They had a stat which popped up on the tee, which was brilliant, and it was basically score for the average score for the hole from the fairway, from the right rough, and from the left rough. So it might be a par 4, and the people that hit the fairway were averaging like 3.78. The people that missed it in the left rough were like 4.12, and the people that missed it in the right rough were like 4.65. So missing it right is more penal than missing it left. So you're not going to suddenly stand on that hole and have a tighter shot dispersion if you're hitting driver. But what you would do is you go, well, missing left is more beneficial than missing right. So I'm now going to aim more left centre. So if I miss it right on my target, I'm in the fairway. If I miss it left, I'm in the rough. You can take out one side of the golf course with your targets. But it's difficult to know on a course that you play in which is the best side to miss it, unless it's like your home course that you play week in, week out.
So getting into the data, and that's Daryl coming back to the 26 resolutions and that, not that I'm the resolution guy, but the goals, that's where I'm at. And I think I'm doing a lot of what you're saying now since I've been tapping into that decade stuff. And I actually think what I'm seeing is, and it'd be interesting, I'll show you actually when I see you at the PGA show, I'm scoring quite well out the rough. And I think that's because I'm missing it in the right spot.
Yeah. Because you look at best drivers on the planet. What are they averaging off the tee with fairways hit? What, 70%? So the best golfers in the world are missing 3 out of 10. So you've got to be decent from the rough. You can't expect to go and play and hit every fairway, can you? So you'd have to say on every time if you're hitting driver, there's 20 to 30% chance I'm going to miss this fairway. I need to plan accordingly for that, and it's not negative because you can be. And I remember Tiger was saying, he's super aggressive on every single shot to the target that he's
at his target. Yeah,
the target might be quite not defensive, but it might be 20 feet left of the flag, or it might be right side of the fairway. So you plan. I've said it before, but the phrase I use is plan for 100 and then focus on one. You have to plan for, if I'm going to hit 100 shots from here, where do I need to aim so that all of those 100 shots would be in a decent position? That's your target, and then you focus on the one you want to hit. And it's difficult. I think Scott talks about it a lot. The theory, when you run through it, it's really easy. Oh, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But actually to go on the course and commit to hitting it 20 feet left or aiming actually into the right rough on a hole. There's a hole at the Forest of Arden, you might not know it, 17th par 5. It's a dogleg right to left. And it's hard off the back tee to get past the corner, but you can always reach into. But if you hit it, even if you hit it left side of the fairway, you're blocked out by some trees. So you're in the fairway, but you can't go for the green. Whereas the right rough is, you've got an open shot to the green. So on that hole, I'm almost aiming right semi-rough because I know that if I pull it into the middle of the fairway, I'm okay. If I blaze it 20 yards right into the rough, I'm still okay. So it's having that change in mindset that I'm standing on a par 5 with driver, basically aiming into the first cut of rough. And I 100% tell you now, I've done this with videos and people are not having it. It's like, nah. Yeah. So on that 17th, my shot dispersion with driver is pretty wide. But I can guarantee you, I've almost never missed that fairway left. But that's not because I'm a really accurate driver of the golf ball, it's because my target is basically where it needs to be for that hole.
So we obviously had Scott on the podcast. We started talking about Decade a while ago. It was a good interview. It opened my eyes up a bit to Decade. We probably had like 12 months since that podcast, and I didn't get Decade until about 12 months after it. The thing that's come highlighted to me is not bad out the rough. Point number one, switch the targets off the tee, change the expectations. There's another number in there. And you have to be honest with yourself, but it's something to do with Duval's psychologist, and you rate how much you concentrate on each golf shot, on each hole.
Yeah.
Do you know, if I play well, I can get into the 90 percenters. If I play average, my average is 83%.
Yeah.
How do you increase that number? All pre-shot routine, or like, because the golf course I play a lot at has a road that goes into like houses, and I find myself thinking a lot about the traffic that's driving around, and like if someone's got a moving van or there's a construction van or a police car or something, and I'm not, how do you make sure that you get your focus? Because that's another thing for 26. I want to do better.
I think that is one of the hardest parts of this game, because it's not realistic to say I'm going to go onto this first tee and I'm going to switch on and I'm going to stay hyper focused for 5 hours. It's just so difficult to do. So the difficulty in golf is if you're going to shoot like say 70, 71, 72, that's 72 times that you've got to basically switch on, switch off, and that's really hard. I think that the you've probably seen that little video. I mean, you might have even been on the same conference when there's a basketball game, and they play this video, and it's like a fairly wide camera. You see the whole kind of basketball court, and the guy says, "Okay, I'm going to play you this like 40-second video, and I want you to count how many times the basketball is bounced." So it starts, one team's got it, and he's like bouncing, and it's like 45 seconds plays. And then he finishes the video and he's like, right, what was the answer? And it's like, I don't know, 100, 110, 120, whatever it may be. The answers are flying out. And then this guy's like, is there anything else strange that you noticed in the video? And in the conference I was in, no one puts a hand up. He's like, nothing weird happened, nothing odd. No, nothing. He's like, right, watch it back again. Don't worry about counting how many times the basketball bounced. And like 15 seconds in, a guy in a gorilla suit walks into the middle of the basketball court, waves at the camera and walks off. But no one was distracted by that because there was a task that they were super focused on. And for me, that's the thing. I think when you don't have a clear shot shape, I don't think when you've got a clear target, you've got nothing to focus on. So it's easier to get distracted by the noise or what you're having for lunch or a car driving past or what your playing partners are doing. But when you've actually got right, what is my yardage? What's the back edge? What's the front edge? How far am I trying to fly it? What's my start line? What's the apex going to be? Where's the ball going to land? What am I trying to... I think once you've got so much to focus on, it's so much easier to get immersed in the shot, and then the other stuff gets lost. But I think that is so hard. And then you look at one of the Opens, I can't remember which one it was now, when Oosthuizen won it, he had that little red dot on his glove. That was basically his, wasn't that? Was his trigger to go, okay, I'm switching on now.
St. Andrews, that was.
Yeah. So he was saying... Because that goes back to the point of, switching.
First time, little story for you. First time I met Tyrrell Hatton, he got in as an amateur. He looked like a rag and bones man with a big barnet on him. And I'm like watching this kid hit balls in the rain, fitting him. And I said to the guy who brought him to me, I'm like, he's pretty good, him. And obviously he went on to be a baller. Carry on.
So I like things like that, little triggers. I think too many people try and switch on too soon. So, I will quite happily want a player to get to the ball, figure out what club they're going to do, that kind of stuff. That's all. You can be a little bit not switched off, but I like a little trigger that's like, right, I'm on it. Whether it's you putting your glove on, whether it's actually taking the club out the bag, whether it's actually standing in your posture. But I think once you're in that, then you want to be super focused and you need to have all those things dialed in. So what is my yardage? What's my start line? What's my apex? What's my shot shape? Where's it going to land? All that kind of stuff. But I would say that trying to find a trigger to switch on and switch off is key. But it's so hard because we've all done it. We've all been over a shot and you've hit the shot and it's like 20 yards short and you think, it's never 8-iron. Like it was always a 7-iron. It's just because you've not got immersed in the process particularly well. But I think it's difficult. I think I would, without speaking to them, I would imagine the best players in the world, when they look at a round of golf that they've not performed, they'll often, I think, look at the fact that they didn't switch on, they didn't focus correctly for the poorer shots. It's tough.
And then follow-up question then, swing thoughts, because I know you like swing thoughts for your own game. And then how do you, like, if I look back, I think my chipping isn't as good as it used to be. And if I look back as a kid, and I was actually putting on the putting green at the weekend, and there were 2 kids having a putting comp, and it was just like, see the ball go, see the hole go, putting great. Like no process, no gates. They're just freaking beating kids. And I was like, that's awesome. And obviously that used to be me. As I'm out there with the training gate and all that, and I was putting fine through the gate, brilliant, trying to get the most out of my practice because you don't have the time like the kids have just to freaking throw an hour at it on the putting green. So how do you get to a point where you know you've done enough on technique? That because then I went out and played yesterday, just very casual with, again, my kid and some other kids, and I was trying to hit chip shots with no thought process other than just feel, and it was average at best. But my overall chipping at the moment is average at best. So what's the way to be when I get back to being a junior or I'm in a bunker? I'm not thinking about technique in a bunker, and I'm a filthy trap player. So it's like, how do you do, what's the way to go? If you've lost the confidence in it, to then gain it back. Because, you can take the piss, but I'm using a freaking broomstick sweeper style putter. And for some reason, with that one or with an arm lock, I'm better. And I think that's all technique because there is no real set technique for them. So you just freaking go.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to be like, if you're saying you're a filthy bunker player and you don't think technique, I would hazard a guess that your technique is pretty spot on. And the issue, and I'm in the same boat as you, that my short game isn't exactly where I needed to be. And I can go out there and I can try and be a kid again and do what I did when I was 16, 17, 18. And that's all well and good. But when I look at my technique on camera, I'm looking at it going, it's just not good enough to hit the shots. So I can go out there with the right attitude of just free up and try and hit shots, but I know that my technique isn't good enough. So I'm going to hit quite a few ropey ones. So ultimately, and it's a tough one, this is why it takes time. You want to be putting the work in to say, well, my technique needs to shift to the point where I can do everything I need to do with a wedge. Control the launch, control the ball speed, control the spin, control the strike. And there's going to be technical change that you need to make in order to be able to get to that point. And then when you get to that point, you've almost drifted so far down the technique route, but you kind of had to go down there. Then it's a case of trying to leave that technique in the same place by doing some drills that maintain it, and then trying to move back to the other side and being a kid again. And I think that the best players in the world are acting and playing like a kid around the green, but they're doing that with great technique. And I don't think you can be a great short game player if you're playing by feel, but your technique's poor, or if your technique's great and you're playing technique, if that makes sense. You've got to have good technique and play with touch and feel. And it's a hard one. It is, especially with short game, because I think with swing you can play with a little bit less feel, because if your swing's good, it'll kind of work. With short game, it doesn't work. So I would say, look at your technique. What do you need to do? Why are you not executing as well as you need to? There'll be a reason why. Highlight that reason. Get some drills that work on that. Diligently do those drills, and then when you play, just focus on the shot.
So there's a lot in there for me, McD. That's me sorted. Basically, get one side miss, which the maestro said, piece of piss. Don't even know why that's in there, but it's in there. Get a bit more free on the short game, which I think I'm on the right path by the sounds of it. And I think just improve my data all in all. I'd like to get that focus one, Bubsy, up from 83 to like 87 would be nice. 87 would be legit. Because, I mean, the thing is, doing that stuff, mate, I've seen, obviously, I'm not like Daryl. I don't cheat. I keep my gin handicap. And I've seen a big improvement quickly, which has resulted in some success. Obviously, when you play Daryl, it's the biggest major of the year. So I don't know if you'll have the success playing him because he turns up and says he's a 15. But you do your best.
Don't bash the 2004 Curry Classic champion. Just leave me alone.
So listen, what are your give us some of your little goals here, McD, then, because we got to get this thing moving.
I'm going to play golf.
I want to ask Daz a question, because I think Daz is going to be quite clued
play golf. I mean, if mine was hard, then that's freaking super hard, isn't it? Yeah, play golf. All right, fair enough.
So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people out there who are setting goals, because it is that time when you do it. And it might be a family-orientated goal, it might be a business-orientated goal, but obviously in this context, it's kind of more of a golf goal. But I think it's Justin Thomas who, maybe at the end of each year or start of the next year, always posts his... And always on there is something like, win multiple PGA Tour events, or something like, win a major, or win more than 3 events. And whenever I see that, I think to myself, That's not in your control. Like, you could shoot 60, 60, 60, 60 in every PGA Tour event, and someone else could shoot 60, 60, 60, 59, and
Or 58,
or 58.
or 57.
And I just think,
Or they could go like 60, 59, 60, 59.
All right.
Or they could go 6, 7, couldn't they?
There it is.
But I just think it's
No, I get you. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I wouldn't.
You said it a moment ago, Trotty. You said you can't control the outcome. So I think, I mean, I've just put a few notes down here for anyone setting goals. I just think it should be process goals. It should be more. You can't say to yourself, "I'm going to go and win 3 monthly medals or 3 member guest or whatever it is." Because if I said to you, Daryl, like, I want to go and win a regional event on the PGA Midland region, you're just going to go, well, how are you going to do that? And I'm going to go, well, I need to do this, this, this. And you're going to go, well, how are you going to do that? I'm going to do this. And you're like, well, there's your goals. So when people are thinking of their goals, what should they be thinking about?
Well, relating it from a business perspective, everything is about the stuff that you're in control of. So whether you're trying to improve your margin, trying to improve your overall revenue, that kind of thing, everything is basically or largely within your control. But if you're trying to be the number one business in your field, you can't really control what your competitors are doing. So you can only concentrate on your own data and your own stats. So I think that any goal or objective or KPI, or whatever you want to label it as, has to be something that you can achieve on your own.
Yeah.
If you can't achieve it on your own, it's not a goal, it's a dream. So you have to be able to do it. When I say on your own, like obviously my team here, Rocket Yard, Full Swing, etc. We have people within the team and we're all responsible for each other. We all back each other. So that is in our control. So if we're measuring things like, it could be an engagement rate, for example, from a social media perspective with you guys, that is something that you are relatively in control of. There are obviously going to be outside influences and challenges, whether that be, this is a little bit cliche, but you think about a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Some of those things are out of your control. So the strengths and weaknesses are the things that are in your control that you can develop. And I'm saying this with the mindset and the framework of building a KPI, an objective, right? But the opportunities and threats are all outside influences. Because I tell you now, if a World War III happens today, well, all of our goals are probably blown out the water, but it's not our fault. And I'm not passing blame. I'm just saying that that's the situation. So to your point, Bubs, you could shoot 4 rounds of 60 and still lose the tournament, but you've played great all week. So I don't think that you can say winning something is your absolute objective. And actually, when you start looking at some of the best sort of entrepreneurs in the world, or some of the most recognized, they basically think in decades, operate in minutes. And that's the sort of mindset. Like, what's the overall bigger picture that you're trying to achieve? And you make micro steps in terms of your objectives to achieve that. So that could be, if you're starting out in business, you would go, right, I want a company that's going to turn over $20 million. Well, you got to start with the first pound. So what's the first thing that you're going to sell? How are you going to package it? How are you going to sell it? How much does it cost you to acquire that money? And you start there, and then you get a little bit of success, and then you expand it time and time again. So for me, I think that goals and objectives should almost in its entirety be short term. So you need to, we used to say this all the time when we were all PGA pros back in the day, or trainee pros back in the day, how do you eat an elephant? Well, bite-sized chunks, right? So you got to have one bite size is one objective. And before you know it, you've eaten an elephant. And that's how I think that objectives should be set. So sometimes when you get too far ahead of yourself, that's not good. And sometimes when you put things into other people's control and you don't achieve it, it can be deflating and actually distracting from what you need to do to be successful. So if you're thinking about objectives and goals, and really, actually, if you're thinking about objectives, you should only really probably have about 2 to 3. You shouldn't have more than that. And I know Justin Thomas puts out this whole list of stuff onto his thing, and I get it. But really, if you set too many objectives, it's distracting. You need 2 or 3. That's it. Any wider than that, you're stuffed.
So are we going back to your Christmas days back in South Africa there with an elephant on the barbecue? Is that...
How did you know? I mean, you should have come round. Ostrich, actually, biltong. Yeah, I just think, like, when I think about goals and objectives, I just think simplicity is the skill. I think it's very easy to add complexity to everything. But actually, the real skill is to do something complex in the most simple way you can imagine. And that's kind of how I treat the business side. I mean, I'll be honest, but I say to the team, or I said it this morning, we had a meeting this morning, I've got no skills. I couldn't tell you how to do a paid ad. I can barely do email marketing. I don't know anything about how all the different elements that go into running the business that I run. And I said to the team this morning, I basically only have one core outlook. I kind of get how human behavior works, how people arrive at buying decisions. I'm really interested in that sort of emotional connection to a brand and to people. And that's the bit that I operate in. But in my team, we've got all these people that are really good at chopping down trees. My function is to make sure we're chopping the trees down in the right forest. So if I can do that, then we win. But all I need to do is measure which forest is the one that we should be in. So, and all I will look at is 2 or 3 core pieces of data that verify where I should be and where my team should be. But they are the skill set, they are the heartbeat in the engine, and they actually do everything in a way that benefits our customers, and obviously all the other brands and et cetera that I'm involved in. So that's where they come to the fray. So and I know I'm going really long-winded here, but I like to relate a little bit to business, because in business there's, the companies I've been involved in and everything that I operate within, people just track far too much information. And actually, all you really need to know, if you really break it down, how much money am I making? How much money am I spending? And how much money has it cost me to acquire new business? And how much money, what's the lifetime value of that customer? If you know those 4 things, you can run a business. That's it.
I agree with that.
It's as simple as that. So
money in versus money out, for sure.
Well, that's all that really matters at the end of the day. Obviously, you start to then get into some of the micro detail, which might then go more, down to the department heads per se. But, let's say you do a 12-month contract for something, you then need to think about, well, what do we need to do within this 12 months to ensure that there's going to be a renewal, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes to make that type of stuff generally work. But ultimately, running a business, money in, money out, cost per acquisition, lifetime value. That's it. Because I know, like people say, if I was to acquire a new marketing client, whatever, and I'm just using hypothetical numbers, but let's just say the lifetime value of that customer is 100 grand. Well, surely if you spend 40 grand acquiring a customer, you're still going to make 60. So actually, it's still good value for money. Yeah. Yet when we speak to paid ads specialist people, they'll go, £5 to acquire a customer. Well, it depends on the nature of service and product that you are selling, right? So if you're selling something for 10 quid online, yeah, it's a little different to selling something which would be a considered purchase, which might be, like our simulators and some of our other products, which could be 40K plus. You start getting into the consideration, element and how that human behavior will interact with the content and the communication that we put out. So those are different goals. Those are different objectives. But ultimately, the ones that you should be looking at all the time, just 2 or 3, maybe 4. That's it. Keep it really narrow. Keep it really focused. Keep it to the core thing that drives the biggest impact. That's it. The other things you're not really in control of.
But that's why golf's mega, because it's exactly the same. Ultimately, you want to score lower scores. So how do you do it? You break down a couple of areas. Done.
Yeah.
But then once you've achieved that, you then move to the next objectives and you improve in other areas. It's like goals are kind of like a working document. There's never really an end point. It's just something that you just chip away at all the time. And actually, do you know what? If you think about, and I don't want to go all hippie here, but if you think about the purpose of life and having a purpose, isn't that the purpose? Just to keep chipping away is to keep a constant mindset of improvement. Think about it. People retire when they're 65 and they're dead by the time they're 67. They've lost the purpose. right? Statistically, you go into an old age home, you die within 3 years. That's like a factual stat. So I just think that if you live your life with a purpose all the time, with objectives and goals that are a working, it's a working environment. It means that you constantly acquire skill over a long period of time, and your mindset is always open to new opportunities and new ideas.
Very hard to do that, though, in society.
Well, only because people are conditioned not to have that. You think about the education system. The education system, I don't want to get political here, but I'm going to go down the route anyway because I fancy it. But basically, the education system was geared to create employees. So if you look at Rockefeller, Henry Ford, that sort of generation, that era, they were trying to create a time period where you came into school at a certain time, you left at a certain time. It's the same thing as going into a factory. You came in at a certain time, you left at a certain time. So all of these things have tried to condition people to follow other people and follow one particular way of doing things. Whereas in reality, what that does, it stifles innovation. It stifles creative thinking. So if you can get yourself out of the rat race a little bit and become a little bit more inventive, become a little bit more creative, then you start to challenge your own ideas a lot more, and you just become more skilled. And actually, you become really comfortable at making mistakes. So like in my company, I've made more mistakes than people have even tried in the first place. And I'm happy to take the criticism. And we got critics. Like, of course, we got critics. We're becoming a nice, successful, solid brand. I'm going to have critics. I welcome them, because if I haven't got critics, then I'm not doing anything right. So it is a hell of a rant, Trotty. I see your point, but I'm getting on my high horse now. And
I just for some context,
really
I just put that in the chat here. That look like hell of a rant he's on here, everyone. So I'm with you. Keep going, Daryl, by all means.
But it's true. I really believe in this stuff, and I just think I say it to my team all the time. I mean, Lauren's on this call right now in the background, and she'll tell you that I talk about making mistakes all the time. But the only mistakes that are acceptable are the ones where you're trying too hard, not the ones that you've been a bit stupid. The ones where you're actually trying to change something, you're really trying to innovate something. Those are the mistakes that you can hang your hat on. Those are the ones where, innovation and creativity come to the fray, because those are the ones that really change the world. And if you're trying to be somebody that has purpose, I just think you got to go way outside your comfort zone and actually break the mindset of everything. And I've always been a little bit anti-establishment anyway. I mean, as I've said before, I should probably be selling drugs and stealing cars for a living, but I've somehow ended up doing what I'm doing now, but only because I'm comfortable by going against the grain. And am I right all the time? I'm probably right maybe one every 10 times, but I've got much better chance of being hugely successful off that one time, because I'm the one that's prepared to make the mistakes and no one else is. So no one even tries. And that's the difference. And I think that about golf. So when you're learning golf, and when you're getting down to scratch, and when you're trying to become a pro golfer, how many times are you trying to hit a massive hook, a massive cut, a high shot, a low shot? You're trying every shot in the world, and you're making mistake after mistake after mistake. But over time, those things start to improve, and you become a skilled golfer. Rory McIlroy wasn't born hitting every shot in the world. He stood on a driving range on a golf course hitting all those shots. Think how many duff shots Rory McIlroy's hit in his life. He's hit more duff shots in his life than the average golfer's hit in their lifetime. So in context, that's what it's about. It's a volume game. It's try, fail, try, succeed, try, fail, try, succeed. That's the way.
He ain't it more duff shots than you, and you don't play much.
But he's never won the Curry Classic 2004. I am that champion. Anyway, I'm off my high horse now. I'm going to hand that over to Bubs now. Bubs, where are you at?
Wrapping this up, I hope. Jesus Christ.
I just want to add a quick point, because we're sort of talking about resolutions and goals and setting, and I think Dazzler says something really important, what I thought was important. You don't play a lot of golf. You haven't done for the last few years, and you said your goal was to play more golf. And I just think that if anyone's listening to this or watching this, and you are looking at making some goals, just make them realistic. Like Dazzler could have gone, I want to play 20 times a year this year. I want to get down to 2. I want to play in a comp. It's like, it's just not going to happen, is it? And I think, you think about it in golf swing terms, the number of people over the years who've come to me for a lesson, I'm like, right, what can we do? And they're like, oh, I just want you to completely rebuild my swing. And I'm like, just don't be stupid. Because it's such a big goal that you set in. We're going to go down this route. It's going to be 3 months in. It's really difficult, and you give up. Make them really small, actionable goals. Track your stats. If you're hitting 40% of fairways and you suddenly see you're hitting 42, you might not be at the handicap you want to be, but you're seeing progress. And I think when you see progress, even if it's small, it's those kind of things that spur you on and spur you on. But when your goal is so lofty and you're kind of hardly ever going to get there, it just makes it so easy to give up.
That's why I think micro goals are really important. So it's never to, like you said, it's got to be a realistic, achievable in a relatively short amount of time, because it feeds the next goal, the next one, the next. It's that constant evolution of your performance. So for me, I think when it comes to resolutions, think a bit more short term, think a bit more achievable, and don't make too many goals. Just keep them quite narrow and focused. Fair enough, right?
Yeah.
What was your goal, Chris? Have you got a resolution?
Not really. No. I mean, I think I'm not a big. Well, I'll say I'm not a big resolution guy. I think it's important that you have times in your life where you do reflect. And for me, this is just generally a good time to do that because business is a little bit quieter. I get a bit of time off. So I do tend to reflect a little bit more. So I guess you could say they're resolutions, but mine are more around, I mean, look, I've sort of accepted the fact that I'm not going to play a huge amount of golf until my until my kids are a bit older and they start playing. So playing a lot more golf isn't really on it. So mine are just around business and just trying to push myself really and just do things better business-wise.
Do you ever put goals around growing social counts or no?
No.
Can't be controlled, can it?
No. I put more stuff around quality of content, the content itself, the production level, the product, and stuff like that. And I guess it's like you're saying there, it's not, you're not trying to win the tournament, you're trying to play your best golf. And if you know, you kind of know that if you play your best golf, you win the tournament. Same with socials, if you can put the best content out, the views will come.
Yeah, I agree.
Good.
Agree.
All right, boys. Well, I think now's a pretty good time to wrap things up. There's obviously been a huge amount of golf news related to Brooks Koepka, Live Golf, TGL. Obviously, we didn't even cover TGL. We're right in the middle of the season as well. We're right at the start of the season. World rankings for Live players as well. There's a whole host of things that have come out over the last few weeks. So for those guys that are still listening to the podcast this way in, there will be some info on Instagram, some polls which will be going out. Basically, would love to get a bit of guidance from you guys to figure out what we should be talking about next week and possibly the week after that. So definitely look out for that on all channels, Trotties, Bubs, and obviously the Dope Stroke stuff. And I suppose I might as well chuck it out on Dazzler Unplugged as well. So check it out. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know your feedback. And other than that, we will look forward to catching you boys and girls next week.